My name is Francis, and if you're new to this channel, consider hitting that subscribe button and that notification bell because I post a new video every single day. My mindfulness group coaching program is now open, so if you want to be part of the program, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. In this video, what I wanted to talk about is how to connect to your higher self. That version of you that you know you can become, but there's something stopping you, not allowing you to fully step into that vision. Because when it comes to fully stepping into the vision of who you want to become, there's always something that's going to block us from fully stepping into that. Okay, and the way I see it, the only thing stopping you from stepping into the new vision that you have for yourself, that new version of yourself, is the current identity of who you think you are. Because even me, when I was thinking about what I wanted to create for the next 3 years, I had this crazy vision, and then I noticed I had a little bit of resistance there in terms of fully embodying that. And it's because my current identity is not in alignment with that. But when you're stepping up and creating that next big thing in your life that you want to create, there's always going to be a little bit of fear and survival and that old ego identity trying to block you from fully stepping into that vision. And that's just part of reality. No matter how awakened you become, no matter how conscious you become, no matter how present to the moment you become, when you make that next big, bold move that might not make logical sense, but you know your higher self is asking you to do that, it's gonna be scary. There's gonna be fear that comes up and it's gonna block you. And it's gonna try to block you, but the question is your higher self gonna allow you to step into that? Because your higher self knows what you want to become. It's literally that vision of your higher self that can deal with more uncomfort, that can step and do crazy bold things that the old version of you couldn't do. Okay, it would just not allow you to fully step into that vision. And you have to be really careful here because the old ego and that old sense of self is always going to try to creep up through the back door and stop you from your dreams. The question is, do you actually have to believe in that fear? And I can talk about, do you have to believe in this fear? You're going to say, no, I don't have to believe in that fear. But to go a level deeper, the only way to disagree with that fear is to have conscious awareness that it is your old self. So you have to make that distinction in your mind between, okay, here's my higher self, here's my old self. You have to create that difference. Because if there's no difference, then you're just going to fall back into that old self and you're not going to see that there's an old version of you blindly pulling you back into that old state of being. Because when you make that next step, there's going to be something blocking you. And you have to be aware of this. It's super, super important that you're conscious of this because you can start to completely flip this whole mentality and you'll start to realize that the greatest version of you actually lies on the other end of your greatest fear and your greatest trigger and something that makes you uncomfortable. That's what awakening is really about at the end of the day. It's about stepping into uncomfort, making you do something that your old self is uncomfortable doing, but that your higher self would be comfortable doing. And then you step into that and you willingly do this. You see, it's not about are you ready? You're never going to be ready to fully step into your higher self. Like, you're not going to be ready. It's always going to feel like, I'm not quite ready to do this. Like when I was making a huge investment in my coach dropping out of school, I was worried. I had fear come up. There was a trigger. But I knew that I had to step up and do that because my higher self was asking me to do it. And even right now, I still have a lot of challenges where like there's certain things that make me scared. I'm like, oh crap, I don't know if I can do this, like investing more money. And then like, am I gonna be able to get this client this month? Am I gonna be able to get this person? It's like, all of that is my old self. It's like, am I worthy enough to help this person? It's like, it's all in your head. We all have this ability to step into our higher self, and the universe is actually asking you to step up because if you don't, you're doing a disservice to your fellow man, to people around you. By you not stepping up into your higher self, you are doing a disservice to yourself because you're not progressing into your vision, you're moving deeper into the fear, and you're not helping somebody that needed that help. We all have a higher calling. We all have a vision that we're meant to step into. That's what I truly believe. And I believe that if you don't step into that vision, you're doing a disservice, and that's pretty selfish of you. You're being selfish by not stepping up into your vision. Because we're always so worried about me. Like, what, am I worthy enough? Like, can I really do this? Can I really step up into this uncomfort? Like, is this really gonna work out? Like, but like, do you notice that all of that is you focusing on yourself and not others? Because your higher self is about your own self, but it usually involves helping somebody else as well, serving others, making it a win-win on the planet. Because the ego is about lose-lose. It's a lose-lose. It's not a win-win, and it's just worried about itself and in lack. I don't have enough right now. Victim mentality. When you're stepping up into your higher self, you're like, oh, this is happening for me, not to me. It's a learning experience. You start to switch your mindset a little bit. And when it comes to how to connect to your higher self, you have to realize that it's always going to be a little bit uncomfortable, but that's really where the awakening happens. That's the process of awakening, so to speak, and becoming your greatest version, because there's no other way to grow than to step into uncomfort. But you want to be really, really careful here, because you don't want to push yourself too much. If you push yourself too much, and this is where you have to find that fine line, which can be a little bit tricky, because if you push yourself too much, you might just fall back to your lower self and then not go to your higher self for longer than necessary. And you'll just go back to your old patterns for 6 months. Like, you make some crazy goal, like, yeah, I'm gonna send it to my higher self. And then you just go back to your old self for like 6 months. So you have to be careful here. You have to be very careful here, because you wanna push yourself just enough where you know that it's scary, but also that it's not too much for your ego to handle. Because if your ego, if it's too much for your ego, then it might not be the best thing for you. Like, if you've never meditated before and you decide, hey, you know what, I'm gonna become a monk and go on a silent meditation retreat for the next week of 10 hours of meditation a day, you might traumatize your ego a little bit, and then you won't meditate for a year. So you have to be careful here. You have to be very careful here, because you want to have that fine line, that fine balance. But just ask yourself, what's that next logical step for me to push into my fear just a little bit and step into that higher self, right? Is it just starting a meditation habit? Because like, even if you think about meditation, what is meditation? You're literally stepping into a little bit of uncomfort on purpose, but you're making it comfortable and you're easing yourself into whatever you're feeling. You're literally like observing your own resistance and you're allowing it to be there. So what is it for you? What is it for you that you're scared to do? Like, what is blocking you from your higher self? I think meditation is the number one habit that will allow you to get into touch with your higher self, because you're literally bathing in the resistance of what you feel. And when you master meditation, you can then incorporate this into your business, into going to the gym, into your diet. Like, you're just gonna learn to develop that relationship with fear. And it's not about removing fear. You have less fear as a result of doing meditation and becoming more conscious and getting in touch with your higher self. But it doesn't mean that it's gonna be gone forever. It means that you have a different relationship with it where you don't have it as much, but then once you get a little bit more comfortable, it's like, oh, yep, it's time again. I have to make that crazy investment, or I have to increase my meditation technique by 10 minutes. So what is it for you? What is your higher self asking you to do right now? What is your higher self asking you to do? Is it to start a meditation habit? Is it to start going to the gym? Is it to start your own business? Is it to take that next step in your business and do something that you're uncomfortable to do? Is it to start a yoga practice? Is it like, whatever it is it to improve your diet? Doesn't matter what it is, but that new version of you is always calling you. And the key here is you're gonna feel called to do it. You're gonna want to do it. It's not just gonna be your little ego, like, oh, I have to do this now. It's like, yep, I have to step into this fear because I know I have to do this to make that next level. Like, you're just gonna feel it. You're gonna know that, like, in your heart and a deeper level of your awareness, that it's time to step into that fear. And if it's too much, then it's your ego and it's gonna backlash and you won't have any results. And it's just gonna make you go backwards. So you have to be careful here. Like, what is that next logical thing for you to do that is scary? Like, what is scary for you to do? Okay, what is actually scary for you to do? For me, a couple months back, it was dropping out of school and making crazy investments in my coach. And honestly, right now, I have to start thinking about what's that next big thing, because I feel like I'm a little bit too comfortable right now. I'm honestly a little bit too comfortable, And even though I do a lot of things that are scary and fearful, it's to the point where it's like, you know what? It's time to make that next big step. So I have to contemplate that one a little bit for myself, because I feel like I'm too comfortable right now. Like, it's easy to record video daily. It's easy to, coach people. I need to make that next step in my business or something. And that's what my higher self is always going to be asking me to do. Okay. So you have to be careful here, because you don't want to go too much, but the key is that you will know that that's what you're supposed to do. You'll just know. Your higher self will ask you for it. You're like, yep, it's time. Go do that thing, Francis. Go, like, whatever it is for you, you're like, yep, just go do that thing. And you're going to know it. But then the ego will try to come back and be like, wait a second, you're not ready for this. Are you worthy enough? Can you really do this? You see, that's your lower self being like, oh, I can't do this, survival programming. And so, like, when you go to that higher step, it's like whatever your soul or your higher self, or whatever word you want to use, is calling you to go take action on, that survival programming is going to kick back in. See, this is where the present moment comes in, because when that ego comes in, when that survival comes in, the best thing that I do is I just create spaciousness between me and my ego. And I know that at a deeper level that my fear has nothing to do with who I am. And it's just simply programmed fear that comes from the conditioning of my past. So I'm like, okay, yep, I see this fear. It's blocking me from fully stepping into that vision. But because I have that, presence and resilience built up from meditation, I was able to make bold moves, like dropping out of school or investing in my coach or whatever it is that I know I needed to do in that moment. Because if you want to make bold moves and step out of your comfort zone, you have to have the skill set to do it, or else you're just going to backlash. You have to have the readiness. And you know what? Sometimes it's not even about readiness, it's about willingness. Because that's the thing, when it comes to stepping into your higher self, sometimes you won't feel ready. In fact, every single time you're stepping up in life, you're never gonna feel ready to do it. Like, you're not gonna feel ready to invest more money than you're comfortable investing in your coach. You're not gonna feel ready to follow your purpose. You're not gonna feel ready to follow your higher calling that you know you're supposed to do. But the question is, are you willing to do it anyways? That's the question you should ask yourself, because we're not gonna feel ready. A lot of people I talk to and I'm coaching them, I'm just like, I understand you're not ready to take this jump, but like, are you willing to do it anyway? Because that's where the real growth happens. Like, some people have this belief in their head where they're like, oh, once I remove this block, then I can finally step into my vision. It's like, that thought is actually the block. That's the block from stepping into your vision. Like, you think that you have to get something done before you follow your higher calling. No, just follow your higher calling right now. This is what you have to do. It doesn't matter what's happening on the outside in your life, no matter how chaotic it is. You have to follow your higher calling right now. There's no better time than right now. Okay, there's just no better time. Just follow your higher calling. Because if you don't, what is the cost for you and others to not follow that higher self version of you? Because it's not just about you here. It's your ego is thinking it's about you. Your higher self is about you and others as well. It's about helping others and being of service to the people that you know you're supposed to be of service to. Okay? And it's selfish for you to not follow that. Because if you don't follow that, you're seriously doing yourself and others a huge disservice. And once again, you're not going to feel ready. But the question is, are you willing to step up and do it anyways? Because on the other side of your trigger, and it's going to sound so cliche, but this is like I remember watching these kind of videos a couple years back, and it's like, yeah, cliche, like success, inspiration. It's like, this is literally how it works. Like, when you're on the other side of your trigger is your greatest experience of life that you actually wanted to create. Like, your fear is an indicator, like, yes, go in this direction, right? And when I'm adding 10 more minutes, 20 more minutes to my meditation practice, it's like, oh, that's a little bit uncomfortable. That's the direction I know I need to be going in. You're always gonna, it's always gonna feel like you're not ready. And that's how it is when you're stepping up into your higher self, because your higher self knows, he needs to be challenged now. He needs to step up and become a new version of himself, a more conscious version, a more confident version, a version of Francis that is more confident and can be more bold and make decisions that he normally wouldn't make. He's more conscious, he's more present to the moment. But how do you become more present to the moment? You step into uncomfort. That's just how it works. That's the reality of stepping up into your higher self and becoming who you're really meant to become on this planet at this time. And you're never going to feel ready. You're never going to feel like, now's the time. And you know what? You might feel like now's the time. But even when you feel like now's the time, guess what? You're still going to feel resistance, because your higher self is literally a new version of you that is not congruent with that old version of you any longer. And that means that you're literally killing off this old ego identity of who you think you are. You're literally killing your old self to an extent. Like, you're literally killing the old version of you when you're stepping up into your higher self, when you start meditating more, when you become more conscious, when you make better lifestyle habits, when you start following your soul's purpose. You're literally killing the old self to an extent. And you're not actually killing it. The way I like to say it is you're observing it and letting it go. You're not killing it. Like, to an extent you are killing it. Like, the old version of you is dying. But I don't want it to be like, misperceived and like, we have to crush the ego. It's almost like you got to take a step back, become the spacious observer of that old version of you. Be like, yeah, okay, I see this. This is fear. This is programming. This is not who I am at a deeper level. Who I really am is just pure empty awareness, living this human experience. And I can disidentify with this old version of myself, let that go, so I can step into the new role that I'm playing. And so your higher self is not really who you are at a deeper level. It is to an extent, but the ego that you're playing and the role that you're playing is not who you are. Your higher self is the deeper version of you beyond the ego. That's really what your higher self is asking you to do. And it's coming from that deeper space of awareness, that deeper space of who you truly are. And that's what your higher self is going to ask you to do. And it's coming from a deeper place than your ego, because your ego is your current self and the old self, right? Your ego is not your higher self because it's who you are right now. But who you are right now is not who you're going to be in a year from now, your higher self. And who you are right now, who you think you are right now, is a limit to your true potential. So you have to disidentify with that. Disidentify, oh, okay, I'm telling myself I'm not confident, I can only make $5,000 a month. That's not true. That's my ego. That's the current identity that I've built for myself. And I know that's just an identity that I've built. You start to see that. You start to notice that there's a higher version of me that comes from something deeper than my ego. Because when you start to connect to the deeper essence of who you are in this present moment, then you start to connect to who you are beyond the role that we're playing, beyond the story that we tell ourselves. Because we're telling ourselves a story all the time about who we think we are, but that is not who we actually are. That's just a story. And you're never going to become your higher self, but it's always a becoming. You're always transforming to your higher self every single moment until the day you die. You're just becoming your higher self always. So it's not like you finally became your higher self. It's like, no, you're always transforming. You're always becoming that new version of you. You're always stepping into uncomfort. And you have to understand this, because if you don't, you're either stepping into your vision or you're stepping into your fear. You're either becoming that new version of yourself or you're becoming an older version of yourself and stepping back into fear, stepping back into ego. Like, if you're too comfortable, you're stuck in your ego. The ego loves to stay comfortable, okay? The ego doesn't want to change. But guess what? Your higher self wants to change. Where does your higher self come from? A deeper place than your ego, because your ego is who you are right now. Your higher self is the new version of you that is not your ego, that knows it's not its current ego, but it can become a new version of that ego, which is not the ego anymore. It's just stepping into that new version. Okay, but the ego plays a big role in this. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you're stepping up into that higher place, but your ego doesn't want to go there. Your ego wants to stay comfortable. That's why when you start developing new habits, new patterns, like going to the gym or, meditating, it's like, oh, this is uncomfortable. My ego doesn't want to do this. Like, there's that urge to not take action. Well, that's because your ego wants to stay comfortable. But the question is, can you go against that and follow your higher calling anyways? You see, are you going to be ready to start a meditation habit? Probably not. Are you going to be ready to start your online business? Probably not. Are you going to be ready to invest thousands of dollars into your coach? Probably not. Are you going to be ready to become your higher self? Probably not. You're not becoming your higher self. You're in the, it's not like you become your higher self, but you're becoming your higher self. Are you going to be ready to transform? Probably not. But are you willing to do it anyways? Yes, you are. Your higher self is always willing to do it. The deeper part of you that can create spaciousness from the current ego that it attaches to is always willing. And that's the key, is are you willing? Are you able to do it? Are you ready? Maybe not. And you're probably not going to be ready, because I never was. But I was willing to do it anyways because I knew that my heart was guiding me towards that path, because my mind was telling me certain things that was not necessarily true, but my heart was guiding me towards a direction that I knew I had to follow. Okay, so that's pretty much it. When you're stepping up into that new version of yourself, it's always going to feel uncomfortable. You're never going to feel ready, but are you willing to do it anyways is the question. And you got to keep in mind that when you make that next step, the old version of you is going to try to creep back up. This can happen when you start meditating for 2 weeks, and then, 2 weeks later, I don't feel like meditating anymore. That's your old self. You say, I've never been to the gym before, I'm going to go to the gym every single day for the next year. You start for 2 weeks, and you go back. That's your old self. That's why you have to be realistic. Make sure that when you're stepping up into your higher self, you make it realistic, because if you push too much, you're going to go back to your old self. Okay, so you got to be super careful here. Always know that at the other end of your fears and your triggers and your discomfort is actually where you grow, but you want to balance it so that you're going in a steady, slow pace. Because if you just go some crazy, like, yeah, I'm going to go become a higher self, you go from here to here, then you fall back here and you don't get to here until like 10 years later. So just be careful, keep that in mind. And that's all I have for you today. Step up into your higher self, follow your higher purpose, stop listening to your ego. The question I'm going to leave you off with is, do you have to believe in your fear? Okay, and that's a very generic question, and it's true. You're going to see that you don't have to believe in it, but also keep in mind that the only way to not believe in your fear is to have spaciousness of the fear and see that it's not who you are. Then you can say like, oh, okay, I don't have to believe in this. But some people don't even know that they have fear. They don't even know. And so you have to be very careful here and notice, where is your fear blocking you? Where are you scared to go to? Go into that direction. But just be careful is all I'm saying. Just be careful, because it might be uncomfortable, it might be dangerous even physically. So, I don't take any responsibility for what you decide to do with this video, but I'm telling you right now, step into your fear, step into your uncomfort zone, but just be careful, okay? So that's all I have for you today. If you like this kind of content, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, hit that like button. If you like this kind of content and you found it valuable, let me know in the comments below, how do you become your higher self? What is it that you're not doing right now? Share with us what you actually want to be doing, but you're not doing because your ego is blocking you. Let me know in the comments below. I'm really interested to know, because a lot of people, everybody has a calling, but a lot of us don't follow it because our ego is blocking us. So let me know in the comments, because I really want to know. That's a lot for you today. Have yourself a great day. Once again, if you want to join the group coaching program, hit the link that's in the description box of this video. Have yourself a great day, and see you in the next video.